Here's what it looks like. New measures totalling $66 billion, total stimulus spend now of $189 billion, combined with the measures announced over the last week. Small business cash payments between $20,000 and $100,000. That's to help with the payment of wages for employees that they're trying to keep on the books, and then 50% guarantee for small business loans of $250,000. Now let's have a look at the state of play in terms of how many people have coronavirus in Australia. It is now over 1,000. In fact, 1,073. Still the hotspot, New South Wales, 436. Half that number in Queensland, 221. And you can see why Michael Gunner wanted to shut the top-end borders, particularly with Queensland, only 5 there. It remains 5. The South Australian number, 67. WA, 90. Victoria 230, the ACT 9 and Tassie also shutting its borders with 16. Let's bring in our political editor Andrew Clennell. Good morning, Andrew. I'm talking to the Finance Minister live from Perth in a moment, Matthias Cormann joining us, but what's your initial take on this $60 billion plus second part of the package? They're already flagging a third initiative will be needed.
You need to know, Kieran, it's huge. But it's probably not big enough, let's face it, because of all the layoffs that are happening right now in hospitality, tourism and all those industries, and then related industries off the back of that as the economy contracts very quickly. Now, Scott Morrison and Josh Frydenberg will today unveil this second major stimulus package of $66 billion. But the sort of wage guarantee that British Prime Minister Boris Johnson unveiled just a day or two ago is not being announced and not being planned for at the moment. Treasury advice in Australia is not to proceed with that payment of wages or guarantee of wages in distressed industries. The government believes there will be major problems with integrity and ensuring businesses pass it on to salary earners. Of course, that sort of wage guarantee that Boris Johnson has done to pay the wages of the distressed industries, 80%, is one expensive way you could actually keep people in jobs, with some hospitality businesses reported to have already shed 50 to 70% of their staff and thousands of jobs, tens of thousands, being lost across the country. But if we did that, we would be paying it back for a long time. Now, the government lifted the debt ceiling from $600 billion to $850 billion on Friday afternoon. But that does not mean a $100 billion announcement of stimulus spending today. We get $66 billion instead. Some of that's loans. You saw that $189 billion figure. Well, 105 of that was giving credit to the banks by the Reserve Bank. The lifting of the ceiling then, it's not about the package today, it's about preparing for the worst down the track. Now, one interesting element of all this is that first $17.6 billion stimulus package, promised the Thursday before last, not long ago, more than $11 billion is not out the door yet. So, we're already on a second stimulus package. The majority of this first stimulus package is not out the door yet because the $4.8 billion in $750 payments for families, pensioners and New Start recipients doesn't start rolling out until March 31. The $6.7 billion promised in payments to businesses up to $25,000, which is today going to be scaled up to $100,000, doesn't kick in till April. So it's not hitting the economy yet, the stimulus. Now, a large part will be around welfare payments today. I think we can expect more cash payments for New Start recipients around the $750, just scaling over time. Now, the Prime Minister says he wants to scale up these economic commitments, make them scalable. That's the word he keeps using. The problem is, I guess, businesses are scaling down big time, and the government needs to be aware of that. Obviously, they are, because we're already being briefed. There's likely to be a third package. Treasurer Josh Frydenberg, he came up with the idea for the banks to freeze small business loan payments for companies, and he did that deal with the banks. That's important and unprecedented, but some might argue not as important as big cash from government to keep people in jobs, because it's easier to have them in jobs than have them unemployed and get them re-employed again. That's why we're looking at a potentially high unemployment rate, especially if this goes for 6 months, as the Prime Minister has flagged. Now, the PM on Friday, he mentioned rent relief for people who lose their jobs, and the states would look at that. I understand there's a proposal being discussed by the states to waive land tax for landlords, so we'll hear some more about that. In recent days, there's even been speculation that things could get so bad we could renationalise things. Virgin Australia is one thing that's been talked about. Qantas not so happy with that. One reason for that is they fly the FIFO workers for the mines around the place, or one of their affiliates does. The PM isn't ruling that out, but it seems a long way off. Let's see what he had to say about nationalising firms on Friday.
At this stage, there are no plans from the government. I wouldn't want that to be misinterpreted. I mean, we are in unprecedented times, but we have no plans to be involved in those sort of nationalisation programs. That is a response that is not justified by what we're seeing or anticipating at present.